I hope that you're still with me on this journey. I know this has been like a really long episode, and I've done a lot of talking today, and we have done a lot of videos. Now in this section, we're going to United States Incorporated. Okay, this is the next section. Now, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I can wrap that up in this last segment. If not, then I might have to do a piece of another one, but I'm pretty sure I can wrap this up. Anyway, it says, and I'm reading this from Bibliotycopolis. Wait a minute. I am reading this from, I keep forgetting, because bibliotycopolis.net. I'm pretty sure that is how it's pronounced. I'm trying to look it up so I can find it. Okay, well, bibliotycopolis. And I did say that when you do go through it, kind of chew the grass, spit out the hay, because they do make references to people that are not Christian. There's people like David Icke, people like Maxwell Jordan, Tessarian. There's different people out there that they bring a lot of really good truth to the table, but they are not believers, okay? And so some of the stuff seems twisted because they have, they have no belief in God themselves. Okay, or the Creator as we know Him. Okay, United States Incorporated, bibliotycopolis.net. Okay, England, Canada, Australian, and many other countries are led politically by prime ministers. Have you ever wondered anything about that? Isn't that, oh, the Prime Minister of Israel, oh, the Prime Minister of this and that. Who are these people? Okay, they're led politically by prime ministers to the Queen. In fact, she is the official head of 123 Commonwealth countries. Bet you didn't know that. America, Russia, and other countries, however, have a president and vice president. Corporations have presidents and vice presidents. What does this mean? Quote, for those who think America controls the roost, it would do well to consider that the Queen of England is still the official head of Commonwealth, 123 countries, and the official monarch of Australia and Canada, along with the United Kingdom. Add to that the fact that all Bush Sr. got for his 2 terms as President of USA is a mere knighthood of the British Empire. Okay, I'm just checking. I didn't know whether I should just buzz off into another direction on my own or we would be covering this. Prash Trivedi said that. That was a direct quote from him. The U.S. presidents rule from the White House. The Russian presidents rule from the White House. The Jesuits, okay, that's Illuminati within the Vatican, okay. A large force behind the Illuminati have their own White House as well. England is ruled from Whitehall. Quote, this is a quote by Jordan Maxwell, Matrix of Power. Jordan Maxwell, I like a lot of his stuff, but he can get brutal on Christianity, and he doesn't stop with the Catholicism, okay? And he can be very dangerous. I knew a guy on a forum once, actually he lived out here, and I mean, we would talk on this forum all the time. And anyway, he said Jordan Maxwell was coming to his area. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, I kind of want to see him, but I kind of don't. And he was a Christian guy too. And he goes, I don't know, I'm just going to go ahead and buy the tickets. And he did, and he went. And when he came back from that conference, his head was spinning, okay? You got to watch some of these guys. I don't think that Jordan Maxwell thinks that he's fooling anybody any more than I think David Icke does. I think that they believe what they're telling you, and because they are atheists and they do not believe in a Lord God, that they don't have his spirit in them. And so they're still in a bad direction. They're still in the dark. Even though they have all this information on all these other things, they're still very much in the dark. And yet, it's sad because they're so good. Well, Jordan Maxwell is so good at presenting his cause that he's actually dangerous. And so, anyway, I remember this guy coming back from the conference, and the one thing he told me on the forum, he said, I regret going. I really regret going. He said, I just feel like there's so many questions going through my mind that I think I shouldn't have gone. And I remember that. I mean, that was just, I hope that he's got his head back on straight since. But you got to watch. You got to be real careful. I mean, anyway, I'm getting off here. This is a quote from Jordan Maxwell. And they do. They have a lot of good truth. But once they start trailing off on this stuff, making comparisons to Horus and Jesus and all that, because they don't have the Lord in them, they just work your mind. Okay? And like I said, I don't believe that they're doing this intentionally to screw you up. They think they're doing you a service by awakening you to more truth. But they're living in a lie. Okay? I guess that explains it. Jordan Maxwell in Matrix of Power. Now, I don't recommend you run out and buy his book, Matrix of Power, but here we go. Quote, the United States government is being ruled from the White House. The government of England is being ruled from what we call Whitehall. And Whitehall, like our White House, is the symbol of power, because the hall is like the Masonic Hall, the Lodge Hall, the Union Hall. Okay, and that's all they have here that he said. The original 13 colonies were actually called companies. All the way back, in the United States history, 13 colonies called companies. Bet they didn't teach you that in school. Military units are also called companies. We sing patriotic songs like the Star-Spangled Banner. But a banner is a corporate advertisement, not a flag. You surrender with a white flag. I surrender. No colors. When you get mad, you show your true colors. If you just won independence in a bloody revolution with Britain, would you choose the same 3 colors for your new U.S. flag? Why does every heart ring true for the red, white, and blue? What about the gold-fringed flag used by the military, hung at all courts, schools, and government buildings? And I want to intercept here. Churches, especially Baptist churches. A flag does not belong on their platform and does not belong in their sanctuary. That last bail box that my husband and I came out of had a flag on one side of the, what do you call it, of the platform. There was one on one side, and on the other side they have this supposed Christian flag that's a whole nother topic for another day. There is no Christian flag, okay? I'll just tell you right now. Okay. It all has to do with the British Maritime Admiral, I can't even pronounce anything. The British Maritime Admiralty Law of Flags. Okay, and then they say, this is also known as British Maritime Military Law, and this is why the American flag always has a gold fringe when displayed in the courts of the United States. You find the same in governmental buildings and federally funded schools. The gold fringe is a legal symbol indicating that the court is sitting under British maritime law and the Uniform Commercial Code, Military and Merchant Law, not common or constitutional law. Under the Admiralty Law of Flags, the flag displayed gives notice of the law under which the ship, in this case the court, is regulated. You realize what I just said? It contradicts itself. It contradicts what you think as a country it means. Okay? Anyone entering that ship or court, you know, where all the judges are Freemasons all the way across the land, accepts by doing so that they are submitting to the law indicated by that flag. Bet you didn't know that. Judges refuse to replace the flag with one without a fringe when asked by defendants who know the score, because that changes the law under which the court is sitting. I'm telling you, the world you live in is not what you think, and it's certainly not what they told you it was in school. If you appear in court with a gold-fringed flag, your constitutional rights are suspended, and you are being tried under British Maritime Military Merchant Law. What's that doing over here? That came from David Icke, Tales from the Loop. International Maritime Admiralty Law, the law of the high seas, began in Sumeria. That's how ancient. Sumeria. Way back. Was perfected in Rome and continues to this day. It says Jordan Maxwell has explained that the way we trade commerce today is modeled after the Masons or the Templar Knights. 1,000-year-old system. Notice how regardless of whether you send a product by air, water, or land, you ship it. This is, wording means everything. You know, it may not mean much to us. We just take certain words for granted. I guarantee the religion of the Freemasons, every word has a meaning. Okay? Every part of it. Everything. Everything. The ship pulls into its berth, B-E-R-T-H, and ties to the dock, D-O-C-K. The captain has to provide the port authorities with a certificate of manifest declaring the products he has bought. Through a legal loophole the royals have created, U.S. citizens are considered property of the Queen under British maritime law. Bet you didn't know that. I'm telling you, Washington, D.C. is not a part of the United States. British Columbia. BC, British Columbia. I'm losing my mind here. D.C., District of Columbia. Get it? Washington, District of Columbia. Okay? It is not part here. They're outside our jurisdiction. Think about that. This is where the president is. This is where laws and legislature are signed. Okay? They're not under our jurisdiction. That whole thing is a facade. It is a facade. Oh, it gets deeper. I mean, I could get into the straw man and the capitalization on your Social Security card. I don't know where this is going. Hopefully it touches on that. There are so many things that we do not know. And we subject ourselves to it every day, don't we? We don't question it. We just do like cattle. We just do what we're told. You get that little notice in the mail that says you have to go to the court and apply, you have to show up for jury duty. I got news for you. Okay? All this stuff. I mean, oh, it's your right. No, I don't think it's your right. Not when they threaten you if you don't show up. I don't see that as a right. I see that as a violation of my rights. You see what I'm saying? Oh my gosh, there is just so much that can be said here. Hey, our Freemasons set this all up for us. Don't you love it? I'm telling you, when that sun in Revelation scorches the men off men's backs, I'm telling you, we're seeing it. It is the government bearing down on its people. It's going to get so bad, we are not going to be able to handle it anymore. I'm telling you. You can look at that as allegory. Okay, I'm going to continue. Since we are born of our mother's water, from her birth canal, we are thereby a maritime product, a shipped commodity. Our mothers were delivering a product under maritime law, and that's why we are born in a delivery room. Words have meaning. But hold on to your shorts, because there's more. That's why the doc, D-O-C, signs your birth, B-E-R-T-H, certificate. Your certificate of manifest. You're kept in the maternity ward. Why a ward? No other hospital areas are called wards. Prisons have wards and wardens. You're born in a maternity ward. You hear what I just said? No other hospital areas are called wards except where you're born at. You're born in the maternity ward. Like a prison ward. I'm telling you, this is not coincidence. As hard as it is, as far-fetched as it sounds, you can't make this stuff up. Seriously. Okay, I'm continuing on. The United States Corporation came about just after the Civil War. The Act of 1871, going all the way back 1800s, was passed by Congress, creating a separate form of government for D.C. Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, not District of the United States, District of Columbia. Essentially turning it into a corporation. It was decided that employees would be called citizens. So when you say in court or on paper that you are a citizen of the United States, you are not a free American. You were told you were. You're an employee of U.S. Incorporated. When you get a fine, a ticket, a bill, or get sued, you must sign in all capital letters. When you die, your Masonic tombstone, by law, will have all capital letters to show their employee has died. The entity that is your name in all caps is your Maritime Admiralty Product Code. Upper and lowercase legally represents you or your body. Your Social Security card. It's all in caps. They're never going to put it with, they're not going to just capitalize the first letter of your name and put it in small. There's a reason why your name is all in capital letters on your Social Security. That's your straw man. That's a whole nother subject right there. But I hope we're coming into that. The Uniform Commercial Law was approved by the American Bar Association, which is a franchise, a subordinate branch of the British legal system and its hierarchy based on London's Templar Bar, named after the Illuminati Knights Templar secret society. As I have been writing for many years, the power that controls America is based in Britain and Europe, because that is where the power is located that owns the United States corporation. By the way, if you think it's strange that a court on dry land could be administered under maritime law, look at U.S. Code Title 18B7. It says that admiralty jurisdiction is applicable in the following locations: 1, the high seas; 2, any American ship; and 3, any lands reserved or acquired for the use of the United States and under the exclusive or concurrent jurisdiction thereof, or any place purchased or otherwise acquired by the United States by consent of the legislature of the state. In other words, mainland America. All this is founded on Roman law, because the Illuminati have been playing this same game throughout the centuries wherever they have gone. It's illegal for you not to have a Social Security number, okay? And did you know that your Social Security number is traded on the within the New York Stock Exchange? You're a commodity. Bet you didn't know that. You have a value. As a useless eater, you have a value. Okay. The major politicians know that this is how things are. And so do the government administrators, lawyers, and insider journalists. Those who realize what is happening and ask the court for the name of the true creditor or recipients of the fines imposed by the legal system are always refused this information by the judge. The true creditors in such cases and the ultimate receipt of the fines are the bankers to which the corporation, country, is bankrupt. That's according to David Icke, Tales from the Time Loop. Lawyers or barristers have to take the Bar Association bar exam, just as alcoholics go to the bar. Sugar junkies eat candy bars, and gamblers hope to get 3 bars on the slot machine. These all derive from the Templars' turn of the 13th century Templar bar in England. Originally, the Temple Bar in England. Originally, the Temple Bar was literally just a bar or chain between 2 posts next to the Temple Law Courts. This soon became a huge stone gate, and there were eventually 8 of these gates built so the elites could restrict or control the trade within the city of London. They were taken down during the 19th century, but each stone was numbered and kept in storage until 2004, when they just rebuilt the Temple Bar in London. There you go. There's your 3rd temple. I don't think that statement is too far-fetched. The United States Corporation was created behind the scene of a federal government when, after the manufactured victory in the American War of Independence, the British colonies exchanged overt dictatorship from London with the far more effective covert dictatorship that has been in place ever since. In effect, the Virginia Company, the corporation headed by the British Crown that controlled the former colonies, you know, the 13 colonies, simply changed its name to the United States and other related pseudonyms. These include the U.S., USA, United States of America, Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, federal government, and feds. The United States Corporation is based in the District of Columbia, and the current president of the corporation is a man called, this one says Bush, this is when it was written. He's not called Bush, he's called Trump, okay? He's the current president of the corporation, Donald Trump. That fits, right? He is not the president of the people or the country as they are led to believe. That's just the smokescreen. This means that, okay, now he's talking back in Bush's time, and I'm just going to read this out because you'll see the same similarities no matter who's in office. Look at old Bummer. Look what we went through with that fiasco. Okay? And think of all the damage that guy did over in this country. He was right. The only thing he said that he didn't lie about was when he said he was going to hit the ground running. He may have spent a lot of time on the golf course, but he did enough damage over here. Okay? And that's why they stuck him there. He stayed on schedule with what they wanted him to do. He was not here in your best interest, and neither is anybody else, okay? Now, I'm going to continue reading this because it's referring to Bush, but it still pertains, okay? This means that Bush launched a war on terrorism on behalf of a private corporation to further the goals of that corporation. Get it? It ain't about you. It ain't about the people. I don't care what you call yourself, Democrat, Republican. It's the same difference, okay? And none of it's about you. It had nothing to do with America or Americans because these are very different legal entities. It is the United States Corporation that owns the United States military and everything else that comes under the term federal. This includes the Federal Reserve, the central bank of the United States, which is in reality a private bank. See, I told you, it's not any more federal than Federal Express, okay? It's a private company. It's not even federal. Okay, a private bank owned by controlling stockholders and controllers of the U.S. corporation that are not even American. They're not even American, okay? This is where all that interest that's coming off of your back as a working citizen, it's not even going to the American interests, okay? It's going to a privately owned bank, not even run by Americans, okay? Isn't that a fine how do you do? This is the bank from which the United States Corporation borrows money. I'll go farther than that, borrows digits. You know what's funny is you go to a bank and you're borrowing digits. No cash is changing hands, okay? When you go get a loan that's paid to something else, okay, you're borrowing digits and you're paying interest on digits, okay? That money's not being given to you. It's given to a third party. But, or it arrives as numbers. But you are paying interest on digits. You know, you can get rich on a game like that. I'm just saying. If you notice on the bottom of your birth certificate, it says Department of Commerce. That means you're a commodity. It is a property of the Department of Commerce because you're nothing more than a piece of commercial material. You're a commodity. That's why if you're out of work, you don't go to the unemployment office. You go to the Office of Human Resources because you're just a human resource. And that's by Jordan Maxwell, 1990 slideshow presentation on hidden symbols. He did a really good one on hidden symbols. I saw it years ago. and a lot. But then again, he gets into these comparisons between, to him, Christian is Catholicism, which as a Christian, it is not Catholicism. But he's just across the board. It's all the same thing. And so, anyway, like I said, he could be pretty dangerous. The judge sits on the bench for the bank, and those judges are Freemasons. You have to be a Freemason to be a judge. I'm telling you. Serious. Not all attorneys are Freemasons. A lot of them are, but not all of them are Freemasons. Okay? But if they're going to be a judge, they better be part of that fraternity there, because that's the network in which they get to be a judge. They aren't going to get it any other way. Just like you're not going to have a U.S. president that's not a member of secret society. It just is not going to happen. I don't care who it is, how great you think they are. Okay? They're all in it. They may not agree with others that are a part of it. They may have different ideas, but they all work the same plan. Okay? And they're still dedicated to the work of the great architect of their religion. That's across the board. Okay. The judge sits on the bench for the bank. Banks are on both sides of a river. A river bank, think about the wording, directs the flow of the current S-E-A. Currency. The currency. The cash flow. The current S-E-A, is deposited from the bank to bank down the river. We're just consumers to advertise to. Just human resources to be used up like batteries. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, there's so much more truth into that battery thing, because they feed off our energy, okay? Oh, it's deep. And they are the social engineers. They've designed everything you see around you. The world you think you live in, who do you think engineered this world? These things of the world that people love. You're supposed to love God, but people love the things of this world. Even people that claim to be Christian, they love the world. Who designed it for you? The engineers, the social engineers, those in the know. They designed this world for you to keep you from the world to come. That's really what it boils down to. They're molding us, useless eaters, into wage salary. Everybody's working for the man, okay? I'm so glad I'm out of that world. I'm telling you. And then you have to have a social security number. So all of this feeds into other things. Okay, no, they didn't touch into the straw man and all that. And I may end up doing that on my own, because I have 2 more things that I have to touch on, and I don't think I'm going to get them all done in this video. There may be one more. But the next thing we're going to get into right now, and of course, I'm getting it from Biblio to Copliades, okay? .net. Love this website. Okay? We're going to talk about presidential bloodlines. And I have some pictures that we're going to put here. Did you know all 43 U.S. presidents have carried European royal bloodlines into office? 43. I don't know when this article was written, because now we're at what? We're on our 45th president. Yeah, because Obama was 44, so Trump is 45. I would venture to say they all have it. I know that Obama was. He's Dick Cheney's cousin, okay? And so I'm telling you right now, he would have been, this was written during the time of Bush. So, yeah, and we know Obama was related, and I would bet anything Trump is also related in there somehow. 34, now this is based on when Bush was in office, okay? But you could carry this into where we are at this exact moment. 34 have been genetic descendants from just one person, Charlemagne. The brutal 8th century king of the Franks. 19 of them directly descended from King Edward III of England. In fact, the presidential candidate with the most royal genes has won every single American election. He wasn't won, he was put there. This information comes from Berkey's Peerage, which is the Bible of aristocratic genealogy, based in London. So this doesn't even come from the 12-year-old that did this thing. Every presidential election in America, since and including George Washington in 1789 to Bill Clinton, has been won by the candidate with the most British and French royal genes. I would say placed. Of the 42 presidents to Clinton, 33 have been related to two people, Alfred the Great, King of England, and Charlemagne, the most famous monarch of France. So it goes on. 19 of them are related to England's Edward III, who has 2,000 blood connections to Prince Charles. The same goes with the banking families in America. Remember, even in your Bible, those bloodlines are important. I don't care. You know, all those chapters you flip through, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, listen to my earlier videos. But I'm telling you right now, bloodlines are important. See, we were brought into this world not to really think twice about bloodlines. You know why? Because we really paid attention, we'd see what's going on. We've been dumbed down, I'm telling you. Seriously dumbed down. The same goes with the banking families in America. George Bush and Barbara Bush are from the same bloodline, the Pierce bloodline, which changed its name from Percy when it crossed the Atlantic. Percy is one of the aristocratic families of Britain to this day. I want to show you a clip real quick. George Bush. And it's, yeah, I'm just going to show you the clip.
Now that we know Vice President Dick Cheney and Senator Barack Obama are distant cousins, the New York Post decided to check into the genealogy of President Bush, and his family tree has people talking. Early Show national correspondent Tracy Smith has the story of George W. Bush's many relations.
My honor to bring to you the 41st president, a great dad, George H.W. Bush.
We all know his father, but what about his cousins? Check out this family tree, done with research by Ancestry.com.
What would you say if I told you he's related to all of those people?
That you're wrong.
Oh, no, I'm not. Let me take you through this, branch by branch.
The 101st Airborne Division, air assault.
Vice President Dick Cheney, the man who's only a heartbeat away from the presidency, is actually a blood relation. He's President Bush's 9th cousin once removed. Cheney's cousin Barack Obama is also Bush's 11th cousin and the 9th cousin of Brad Pitt. But we're only just getting started. President Lincoln was President Bush's 7th cousin 5 times removed, and Bush shared more than just a ballot with John Kerry. That's right, they're 9th cousins twice removed.
Really?
What do you think of that?
Yeah, they have the same chin.
There's also royalty in the Bush bloodline. Princess Diana was Bush's 11th cousin twice removed. And then there's this bombshell.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Sure, she may have been singing to JFK, but what about GWB? He is, after all, her 9th cousin 3 times removed.
Maybe it's the eyebrows. I think
They have the same eyebrows?
He's also related to Playboy founder Hugh Hefner, even Pocahontas, and Vlad the Impaler. Trace the family tree far enough, and you get Madonna, Celine Dion, and Tom Hanks.
My mom always said, life was like a box of chocolates.
After all, genealogy can sometimes be like a box of chocolates. You never know who you're going to get. For The Early Show, Tracy Smith, no relation to George Bush that I know of. CBS News, New York.
And of course, Barack Obama has said he doesn't think he and Cheney are kissing cousins, but Brad Pitt says if it's true, he's in great company.
Okay, now, talking about the Bushes, they were involved in the gunpowder plot to blow up Parliament at the time of Guy Fawkes. And this comes from David Icke in Alice in Wonderland and the World Trade Center disaster. Okay, if America declared its independence from the European monarchies in 1776, how is it possible that every single president has descended from European monarchs? If presidents are democratically elected, as we are told, what are the odds that we would always choose members of British and French royal bloodlines to lead us? Well, it's a fact. Bush and Kerry were cousins during that campaign run. Isn't that nice? Two family members running against each other. Did we, the people, choose that? No, we did not. They were put there. They were put there. Somebody put them there. Okay? I don't remember saying I wanted them two on the ballot. In fact, when I vote again, it'll have a box up there that says none of the above. Because that's how I feel about the voting system. Anyway, I'll continue. If presidents, okay, the Americans have always been owned and governed by the same royal families of Britain and Europe, that the conventional history states as being among those defeated during the wars of so-called independence. That was written by Michael Tessarian on astrotheology and sidereal mythology in that book. If it really is the land of the free, and if, as is claimed, anyone really can become the president, you would fairly expect that the 43 presidents from George Washington to George W. Bush would express that genetic diversity. You're having a laugh. The presidents of the United States are as much a royal dynasty as anything in Europe, from whence their bloodlines came. And that was written by David Icke, Tales from the Time Loop. Researchers like David Icke, Michael Tessarian, and Fritz Springmeier, another wonderful, if you're looking, he is like the guy to go to on Illuminati and mind control. Okay, he's got several books. You can look him up online. Fritz Springmeier, Springmeier, and he is a Christian. And he has a website, pentracks.com. Okay, along with foundations like the New England Historical Genealogy Society, Burke's Peerage, and Roman Piso homepage, and other reliable genealogical sources have documented these royal presidential bloodlines. Actually, by branching out far enough on the presidential family tree, the dedicated researcher will find that all 43 presidents share kinship, belonging to the same general ancestry, often called the 13th Illuminati bloodline, the Merovingian line, and or the Windsor-Bush bloodline. If you go deeply enough into the genealogical research, you will find that all the presidents are from this line. A spokesman for Burke's Peerage, the Bible of Royal and Aristocratic Genealogy based in London, has said that every presidential election since and including George Washington in 1789 has been won by the candidate with the most royal genes. Now we can see how and why United States presidents are not chosen by ballot, they are chosen by blood. That was written by David Icke, the Windsor-Bush bloodline. Granted, the relationships are sometimes distant, 10th or 15th cousins, but in a country with hundreds of millions to choose from, this simply cannot be chance or coincidence. Gary Boyd Roberts, a genealogist at the New England Historic Genealogical Society, thoroughly traced these connections in his book, Ancestors of American Presidents. George W. Bush himself is directly related to 16 former U.S. presidents, including George Washington, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses Grant, Rutherford B. Hayes, James Garfield, Grover Cleveland, Teddy Roosevelt, William Taft, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Franklin Roosevelt, Richard Nixon, and Gerald Ford. Bush is closely related to the King of Albania and has kinship with every member of the British royal family and the House of Windsor. He is related to 20 British dukes and the 13th cousin of Britain's Queen Mother, and of her daughter Queen Elizabeth. He is the 13th cousin, once removed, from Prince Charles, and has direct descent from King Henry III, Charles II, and Edward I of England. Through the House of Windsor and King Henry III, the Bushes and Clintons are genetically related as well. According to Burke's Peerage, even according to the official genealogy, Bill Clinton is genetically related to the House of Windsor, the present royal family in Britain, to every Scottish monarch, to King Henry III of England, and to Robert I of France. And that was written by David Icke and Alice in Wonderland in the World Trade Center. In 2004, George W. Bush ran as a Republican against Democrat John Forbes Kerry. Here we go. And take a look at this picture right here, Skull and Bones Society. Okay? They've met. Okay. That was his 16th cousin. These cousins, related to the same British and French monarchs, are also secret society brothers in the infamous Skull and Bones fraternity, and I just showed you the picture. John Kerry descends from King Henry II of England and Richard the Lionheart, leader of the Third Christian Crusade in 1189. I gotta do something on the Christian Crusades too, but that's for another day. He also has links to royalty in Albania, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Russia, Persia, and France, but still not enough royal genes to top George Bush. Earlier in 2000, we see the same story. George W. Bush ran neck and neck with Al Gore, another supposed Democrat and cousin of the Bush family. Al Gore is a descendant of Edward I, Roman emperors Louis I, II, and Charles II, and is direct descendant of Charlemagne, which makes him a distant cousin of Richard Nixon and George W. Bush. So, the top Democratic candidates against Bush in 2000 and 2004 were actually his cousins. And this comes from Michael Tessarian, Where History Ends DVD. Never in the history of the U.S. have two presidential candidates been as well endowed with royal alliances. There has always been a significant royal factor in those who aspired to the White House, with Presidents George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, and Ronald Reagan, among others, all boasting blue blood links. I'm going to do something on blue bloods too another time, but it's going to be different than what you think. Al Gore, a descendant of Edward the First. He is also a cousin of former U.S. President Richard Nixon, who resigned from the White House in 1974 for his part in the Watergate scandal. However, Al Gore does have direct links to the Holy Roman Empire. He is descendant of Roman emperors Louis II, Charles II, Louis I, and therefore also a direct descendant of Charlemagne, the 8th century emperor. The problem is that Gore's Charlemagne links also make him a cousin of George W. Bush. Harold Brooks Baker, Berkey's Peerage Publishing Director. That was from Volume 8, Number 1 of the Nexus magazine, January, February addition, by placing bloodline members on both sides of America's faux political dichotomy, the old monarchs have guaranteed their right to throne under the guise of democratic elections. Back in 1996, we see the same tactic as Democrat Bill Clinton defeated Republican Bob Dole, his cousin. Even Bill Clinton and Bob Dole, who opposed each other at the 1996 election, are distant cousins. They could trace their ancestry to England's King Henry III, who reigned from 1227 to 1273, and U.S. Presidents William Henry and Benjamin Harrison. Clinton has far more royal blood than Dole, and is directly descended from the same bloodline as the House of Windsor, every Scottish monarch, and King Robert I of France. This is why he was the Brotherhood's choice. And that comes from David Icke, The Biggest Secret. The Windsor-Bush bloodline reaches from the American presidents back to British European royalty, and it doesn't stop there. It continues back through Roman emperors all the way to Babylonian kings and Egyptian pharaohs near the beginning of recorded history. From Marie Antoinette and King Louis the 16th. I'm not so good with these Roman numerals. I'm pretty sure that's 16th. If not, it's XVI. I think that's 16th. The French line continues back through Louis the 16th, Charles the 12th, Henry the 6th, Philip the 7th, Robert the 2nd, and many other French monarchs. Why do they got to put Roman numerals? Okay. It passes the de Medici family, specifically Queen Catherine de Medici of France, who supported Columbus's expedition to the New World. Okay, along with bloodline Queen Isabella of Castile, King Ferdinand of Spain, and the House of Lorraine. It was also Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand who started the 350-year Spanish Inquisition, which ordered the murder of millions who refused to convert to Christianity. I'm going to stop it right there. Convert to Catholicism. Catholicism is not Christianity. Period. See, I hate that. It's not even, I am going to do something just specifically on Catholicism. I can see this one coming. Okay? They equate it all the same. Okay. And from the House of Lorraine, Duke Godefroy de Bouillon became the first Crusader king of Jerusalem. Father George and wife Barbara Bush are both descendants of Godefroy de Bouillon, who in 1099 led European noblemen in the successful crusade to recapture Jerusalem from the Islamic faith and moved into the king's palace at Temple Mount. Godefroy de Bouillon was the first king of Jerusalem and the Duke of Lower Lorraine, a major region for the Illuminati bloodline. So when George W. Bush, a descendant of the de Bouillon, through his mother and father, talked of a crusade against Islamic terrorism, this was no slip of the tongue, as was reported. This is according to David Icke in Alice in Wonderland in the World Trade Center disaster. The British line goes back from Prince William and Harry through Prince Charles and Princess Diana to Queen Elizabeth II, King George VI and V, King Edward VII, Queen Victoria, King Edward III, II, First, and King George III, II, and First. Then it passes through King James of your King James Bible, who ordered and financed the now most widely read version of the Bible. Before James came Mary Stuart, King Henry III, II, First, King John signer of the Magna Carta, and back to the Plantagenet and Habsburg dynasties under the Roman Empire. Other branches carried the bloodline to Scotland, Austria, Germany, Spain, Sweden, and even Mexico. This same bloodline also includes key Scottish families like the Lords of Galloway and the Comyns. Marie Louise of Austria, who married Napoleon Bonaparte, Kaiser Wilhelm II, the King of Germany at the time of the First World War, and Maximilian, the Habsburg Emperor of Mexico, who died in 1867. On and on it goes, into country after country. Okay? This bloodline connects into every surviving royal family in Europe, including King Juan Carlos of Spain and the Dutch, Swedish, and Danish royal lines. That was written by David Icke. Before the Habsburgs, the House of Lorraine and Charlemagne were the Merovingians, who originally brought the bloodline to France and Northwest Europe. Back in 4th century Rome, the bloodline passed through Emperor Constantine, the first professed Christian emperor who initiated the Roman Empire's transition into a Christian state and presided over the First Council of Nicaea. Okay, Catholic is anything but Christian, but okay. He was preceded by the Roman Piso family, who will be discussed later. Before them came Herod the Great of biblical fame and Ptolemy the 16th, son of the most well-known Roman emperor Julius Caesar. Caesar actually married into the bloodline through Cleopatra, the most well-known Egyptian queen. A little further down, the same bloodline brings us to Alexander the Great. Okay, I think I'm getting to the end of this video, and I'm not going to be able to go much further. But what I am going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm going to finish up this section that I'm talking about these bloodlines. Yeah, it's very little is left. And then in the next section, I'm going to wrap this all up and we're going to talk about the role of fluoride. Okay? So, anyway, I will catch you on the other end of this. Be blessed.